All right, Nate, what's going on? How you doing?
Good, Ben. Great to see you.
All right.
How are you doing?
Good. Well, welcome everyone. You are here to witness the very first episode of Journey On, the podcast. I am super excited today. How about you?
Yeah, me too. And how about you?
All right.
All the people listening. Yeah.
Yeah, I know they're excited as well. So this is really cool. I mean, this is definitely something we can talk about briefly before we dive in the fact that, we manifested this. This has been months and months. And actually, I was thinking about the other day of when we met and stuff. And we talked about this like technically years ago. And it's just really cool how it's all worked out to this point. So with that being said, we're going to start things out. Our main tradition is going to be an intro and an outro of a meditation. So Nate, I'm going to give it back to you and let's start things off with a little meditation.
Okay, cool. So super simple. You could do this whether you're, sitting quietly or you're driving or you're eating or you're walking or running. So if you are in the position to close your eyes, close your eyes. If you can't close your eyes, no worries. All we're going to do is take 5 conscious breaths. And that just means to take a breath on purpose, just to pay attention to your breath. So if you can, in and out through your nose. And just super simple. Let the breath be easy. Let the breath be in a nice flow. And take about 3 more. Okay, nice. And then whenever you're ready, just start to come back. You are also welcome to pay attention to your breath for the whole podcast. That would be actually amazing. Being that this, is a podcast on transformation and spirituality and just life, we'll be talking about, this kind of stuff a lot. And, as simple as what we just did was, it's really one of the most fundamental and important things in terms of us living a balanced and happy life while fully experiencing like everything that life has to offer us. So, right up top, the simple things are the most powerful things. And so we'll just find that all the time, and it's really cool.
I love that too, because we never think about the fact that how simple it is to just breathe. Right? It's literally the most simplest thing we do, and we do it completely unconsciously all day long, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're saying some really cool stuff there that we're going to dive into that more as we continue along this journey of ours. But we were talking the other night and just breaking everything down of, what this podcast is all about and what it means to us at the end of the day. And a couple things that jumped out to us that we want to share is that, we're really here to serve the world by talking about our own experiences. And at the same time, it's to help people remember that life is a journey and we're all just here to have a little bit more fun. And that's what this podcast is going to be. It's going to be a lot of having fun. We get so wound up with, what being spiritual is, what life is, not even just the spiritual sense. Let's just talk about what life is. We're so wound up about what life is all the time, and we forget to have fun. And I can understand completely why we forget to have fun with, doing things of having to pay our bills, having to work our jobs, and, all that really just doesn't matter at the day. This is all just supposed to be a really fun experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And the one reason why we don't have, fun all the time is because we were told to do the opposite. We were actually told so much in our life to be serious, and that kind of, when you say be serious, it's implied to not have fun, because it's kind of the opposite. Like, be serious and work hard. Those are like 2 fundamental things that we've had in our culture as we've been raised, and they're the beliefs that we have really deep down inside of us. And even as we take that onto the spiritual path, when we go onto the spiritual path, that we carry all of our beliefs with us, and they like slowly start to fade away. But being serious and working hard, in my experience with myself and working with other people, those are two that really last for a long time.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, like life is fun and life is challenging. And I don't know if I told this to you the other day, Ben. I think I did. But so I just heard the two lines of this book called, I think it's The Path Less Traveled or The Road Less Traveled. And the first two lines are, life is difficult. And if you realize that, this isn't word for word, life is difficult. And if you realize that, if you fully realize that, then it's no longer difficult.
Yeah.
And that's so good. It's like, can we just accept the challenges that come our way? And can we like embrace it and use it to get better? Because there's no evolution anywhere in the whole universe. There's no evolution without some kind of challenge. So we need it. So can we embrace that?
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. If you really think about it, about 90% of the challenges we've really had, you know, us personally or anyone, those challenges always work themselves out, and it's always okay. It's just
Yeah.
that for a period of time, it's really difficult, But eventually, things somehow get better, and that's what part of I think if we didn't take things so serious, then we would be having a lot more fun, and we would realize those challenges can be really fun at the end of the day. It's just about changing our tones and our frequencies to the situation. You know,
Yeah.
I remember being in a place stuck like where I didn't want to work. Right, I didn't like my job. I didn't want to work. And then you look at it in a different perspective, and it's like, I get to go to work. I get to do this. Not everyone even gets to do this. That's really cool. And that's how we can simply just flip things around and just have more fun at the end of the day. And I think too, we're so I like what you're saying, because we are so conditioned to, any kid, they're always having fun, they're goofing around, everything is the coolest thing ever. And then you get in school and it's like, stop what you're doing, be serious. And that's the thing, adults suck at,
No, it's crazy. It's like, the kid's joy pisses so many adults off.
Yeah. And we should be looking at them of how they're acting, right?
Kids can teach us so much. Oh my gosh.
Right. And maybe the adults are the ones doing things wrong. In fact, too, I'm sure we'll talk that a little bit more. I think they're doing it wrong at the end of the day, 99% of the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, it's obvious if we just stop and take a look around at most of the world now, most of the world is just like, what the hell is going on right now? Like, there's so much death, prejudice, segregation. And it's like, why is this happening? There's like such a huge contrast in like the wealth and just people having basic needs like shelter, food, and clothing. And it's just really, really obvious that we have been doing a lot of wrong things for a long time. And, there's a lot of room for improvement for sure.
Right. Exactly. And, I think those things are going to be changing as the older we get, for sure. And I think that's, part of everything going on is I think we're witnessing a big transformation and a big change for the world. And it'll be interesting how it turns out. But, it's not going to be easy. But when we look back and people look at the history books of what's been going on, they're going to be like, it would have been so much more simple just to do it this way, right? Which is have a lot more fun. And that's the thing, too. Everyone takes things so seriously that you can't even have conversations the same anymore with certain people, because everyone is stuck in judgment and sensitivity and all these things that are completely unbalanced with where it really needs to be. But that'll work out in time. And I think, humanity at the end of the day always ends up being on the right side of it.
Yeah. Well, there is a huge change happening, like you said, and it's totally obvious just based on the fact that we're doing this right now.
Yeah.
just the fact that you and I, yeah, have come to a point where we, are recording a podcast on this topic, and all the people listening right now, just the fact that you're listening to this, it shows that there is a shift happening, and it really only matters what's happening inside of you and me. So if there's a shift happening inside of you, then there is a shift happening. It reminds me of like that every vote counts, kind of thing. And while like that is still like a little bit iffy because I just don't know what the hell happens in politics, but like I love that kind of like idea to live by. It's like every effort counts, and I love the line in the Bhagavad Gita where it's like every single effort that you make on the spiritual path means something. Nothing goes to waste at all. Right. So that line, is like really, really, really inspiring, and it helps to like lift me up when I'm kind of down. Because we tend to think that like, it's not working or it's not happening, and then we give up. But if we give up or if we stop, then we're holding everything back. If we, keep moving and we keep going, then we're pulling everything forward. Like, yeah, we may just be one person, and it may just be one thought, it may just be one word, it may just be one meditation or whatever, but it's so important that we do it. It's like there's this great quote by Gandhi, something like, I'll paraphrase. The paraphrase is like, what you do may be very insignificant, but it's very important that you do it.
Yeah. I love that. And it's just so true on so many levels. And, I remember when we actually like took the plunge to do this, it was, everything was, chaotic. And I remember sending you a message and just saying, we got to just do this. We have to just do it. Like, it's so important that people hear these things and hear these perspectives and understand that they are a part of the shift. Every single person is part of the shift if they just go within a little bit more and find that balance inside of them. Everyone's a part of it, and that's what helped us kind of take the plunge, and what will help us continue to take the plunge and go the extra mile with it. But no matter what, and that's the thing too, we even talked about, no matter what, let's just have some fun. Like, it's going to be fun just to talk. And that's been the best thing for me, is I realize out of this, I love to just talk about different things. Like, why not put it in this kind of format? And eventually too, we'll be bringing on different guests that we've met through the years that have had similar experiences to us. And that's what all this is about, is just enjoying people's company and having fun along the way. So we're going to have a blast with it.
Dude, I really like you said that. I'll just interject real quick, because yesterday we were talking about like just kind of re-going over the intention for this podcast, like why are we doing it, and we gave all these like the really awesome reasons, then today I was having a feeling like what you were saying, and I was like, there's also a big reason why I'm doing this, is because I just love you and I love talking to you. Right. And doing this and having these conversations is just honestly going to enrich my life and help me be better. So like at the end of the day, if that's one of my main reasons, then like, it's well worth it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing that everyone forgets, because we don't sit and talk to people now. Like, we're starting to again, I'm seeing it more, but we do it all in social media or by text, and we don't just sit and interact and talk. Like, that's what people have done for years, and that's how we really learn. We learn from one another. We grow from one another in interaction. And I think everyone's starting to realize that now, because it's been kind of sort of ripped away in most areas now. It's been ripped away of with this quarantine going on, of being able to be with family and be with friends. And it makes us understand how much that those things are important. And, that's what we're going to be bringing to this right now. And eventually, when time permits and schedules permit, we'll be together more, interacting and be able to do this podcast a little bit more together too. but this is perfect how it's all worked out. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. Everything as simple it is just perfect, right? And let's jump into how did we get here? And it's been like, we're talking the other night, it's been about 5-6 years since we first met each other.
Yeah.
And started our friendship, and just got closer through the years, and understanding that we have a lot of the same philosophies, same perspectives on a bunch of different things. And so let's backtrack. I'll let you kind of jump into that, of how that started, and how simple things like a hike just go a long way with understanding that you believe in, and you understand a lot of the same shit. And it just kind of was easy to talk, right?
Yeah. So I'll kind of talk about it from my perspective first. So the Ben and I met about 6 years ago, and we're both at very different places, the places in our life. I hadn't started practicing yoga yet, so now, I teach yoga, I teach meditation, I do like Thai massage, and like all this kinds of stuff for self-improvement, health and healing and that kind of stuff. Back then I was still like very much in my athlete persona, and I was like just into sports, love sports so much, would watch, listen, talk, and play sports. I would exercise like crazy. And I was working as a sports performance trainer, so it's like a lot of my life was sports. And then so I worked in the same building as Ben for 4 years, and like during that time, I started to practice yoga. I did a yoga teacher training, and then I just started to like more and more of my time was dedicated to like listening to spiritual talks, or like reading spiritual books, or trying to meditate, the, the, or doing yoga or whatever. And like I was going through this transformation inside of this like the big sports facility with like all these guys who were like in the sports world, and I kind of felt that like I had to hide it. I was like, wow, I can't really talk to anybody about this stuff here because this just isn't the place. And after 4 years, I left. I left after I had just gone to India for the first time. And then after I left, the Ben texted me, and also during this time, Ben had like lost a ton of weight, and he went vegan, and I was like, whoa, that's fucking awesome. And he just had like way more energy, and like it was nice to talk to him, and we were talking more. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. There's something's going on with Ben too. So we went on a hike, and it's the first time that we saw each other outside of the building, and we just started to talk about like all the stuff we're doing in our life. And I was just blown away at how much in common we had, and how much how much in common, the things that we were doing. And then from that point on, we were just really close, and we've really, really gone on this journey together, and we've really, really been there to support each other and to guide each other, and like to show each other different things and different people. So it's been super fun getting to know Ben.
Yeah, definitely. And that's awesome. I wanted to ask you stuff too about that, is because I remember you coming back from India and being like, dude, what a shift, right? And I want to understand what that was like, of that first time you went to India to when you came back and you're like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to go do something on my own. What was that like for you?
Well, so I wanted to leave that job for some time, but then after India, I think I was just kind of really at a place where it's like, I just need to really do what's best for me right now, and I was kind of letting it drag on for a long time. Then I don't know, like when I travel, then I go to different places. Like I've been to Europe, I've been to South Korea, but India was the first country that I went to that was like the more like on the less developed side of things. and just seeing the way that some people were living there, and the, from my perspective, just kind of like there was this more consistent like vibe of like an inner contentment, of people just like sitting on the side of the street with like maybe little to no money, and they would just look at me, and I just like felt something, and it just made me kind of like realize over and over and over and over again that a lot of things that I've been doing all my life really aren't as important as I think they actually are. And like, I think that, in life, it's really important to realize what is important to you, what truly is important to you. But just as important is to realize what's not so important. Because if we just stop doing some of those things, then at least we'll just have more time to maybe like relax. And then we'll have more time to like, then we give more attention to what is important. So I don't know if that really made sense, but that's kind of what I was feeling when I got back.
No, yeah, that's awesome. And that's the thing of like understanding how unbalanced it was for you, and you wanted to bring in more of that balanced harmony, and you just finally decided to make a decision and take a plunge and make a shift with it, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because you had to leave for us more to get to the point where we are now with continuing on our spiritual journey. And we've dove into a bunch of different things with meditation classes, and all sorts of different stuff through the years, and I feel like that happened more when you made that shift, because I don't know if it necessarily would have happened in the same time frame if not.
Yeah.
But for me too, I remember having more conversations with you because you're one of the trainers, and obviously had a very healthy lifestyle. So when I did make that transition of losing a lot of weight, and just to give people perspective on stuff, I'm about 150 pounds lighter than what I used to be back then, and it wasn't necessarily, I don't even credit it to a vegan diet. I just credit it to making a decision and having a lifestyle change, because I'm not fully vegan anymore. It technically didn't work for me. But that's a topic for like another time. And with anything else, what I will say when it comes to diet and everything is it just comes back to balance. And my diet was completely unbalanced. And so when I did make that transition, it was nice to be able to talk to Nate of, what are better, healthier foods to have? Do you do this? Do you do that? And that's kind of how the interaction slowly started. And also too, just having, there aren't too many people that you can, there weren't too many people in my circle at the time that I was able to talk about meditation with, and how to do different styles of meditation. What's that even all about? Isn't that just prayer? Which, that's always one thing too, that, there's prayer and meditation, which is a whole episode in itself. And we'll talk more about that later. And, I remember being in this place too, where, it's not that I still to this day, I love sports. I love my two sports will and always be football and baseball. And it's not that I don't love those things, but I love doing other things too. And I don't want to just ever be locked into one thing anymore. I try different things constantly all the time. And so it was nice being able to talk with somebody else that understood those different things. And it's nice too, linking up with other dudes who do this sort of thing, because in my life and my lifestyle, I'm very grateful that my wife is into a lot of the same things that I am. And that's cool and all. But I always only had the female perspective of it at the end of the day. So it was really humbling to have a friendship with Nate that understood that these things are reality, and, that a lot of guys are doing these things too. And they're having a lot of fun with it as well. So yeah, that's my quick perspective on it, just because you said so much with it,
Yeah,
anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, that kind of like, on the whole idea, men and women. So, the men that are listening to this, like, maybe your kind of like, of like spiritual or conscious community, isn't so much the so the so much of men, which I think, it is that definitely growing. But for like a long time when I was teaching yoga, I started to hang out with different people. But really what that means is I started to like stop hanging out with a lot of the same people that I was hanging out with for a long time, or that that was kind of less and less. And then most of my time was spent with like women who were like mostly ages like 40 to like 70. Like those are the people who I was like seeing every day and I was like talking to. And I love it. I mean, it's like great, I love women that they're just like super super cool. But like I felt not comfortable like to being my the quote unquote yoga self, around men. I found that I just like really really quickly would like ask them questions about like sports or something like that. That that's something that I wasn't really as interested in anymore, but I just wanted to ask them because I wanted to like to, to look like I could hang with them, I guess. So the meeting Ben and then now having like a few other the really close guys in my life who are just like really really into this and dedicated to it, it's really really helped a lot. And it's been so nice like allowing me to actually be authentic and true around other men. And it's like, no, I don't need to be like tough or be someone who I'm not. um so we've actually been starting for a few months now that this men's group on Zoom, where like a group of men every Monday night we meet and we talk and we meditate and we just have like a really really a great time connecting with each other. And like that any men who are interested in that definitely the they'll go ahead and send us an email, and you're invited, like no doubt about it. So
Yeah, and we'll have different ways and links and stuff for you guys to get a hold of us that way, once we put everything together. But I want to touch on too the being authentic and true. By listening to this podcast, you're being authentic and true to yourself. That you're wanting to explore and learn something new, right? And it wasn't until, for me, I can speak personally, it wasn't until I was like, you know what, I just like this shit. Like there's no other way to say it, so I'm gonna keep exploring it more. And when you do that, you automatically say to the universe, I love this stuff, and more people come into your life than you would ever dream of. The amount of really cool dope men, male and female, people that I have met through continuing to dive into this work has been tremendous in not that long of a time. And what you'll learn too is all the guests that we're going to have throughout this, it's just people we've met it's going to be just people we have met through the years and have understood that we're all on the same journey. And that's what happens when you start being authentic and true to yourself. And I love what you're saying too, because I think this will help a lot of people understand, when you're talking about having difficult times with different conversations that you're not in the same thing. I still have those same friends that I've always had before. We might be on like a little bit different of a path now, but at the end of the day, I'm still really close with those people. And then I have these people over here that I talk about different things with. And the best way that I do it now is I kind of just let people talk to me more,
mm-hmm.
And that's part of the fun thing that, it's part of the fun of listening a little bit more. Right. And when you do that more, it tends to, I like to just say the universe brings you what you're intended anyway. Right.
Yeah. Just like the being able to say yes to things, so huge. Because like, I mean, the one part part of not being authentic is like saying no to things because we have like some belief about ourselves, like oh no, I can't do it, oh that's the wrong thing, oh it's not the right time. But man, you know, that my life has changed a lot too once I just started to say yes. You know, yes, I want to do it. And then of course, almost every single time, like at some point after I said yes, I'll have the thoughts of like doubt, like, wait, do you want to do this? Should you do this? Is this the right thing? But you know, I've gotten better at like one, sticking with my decision, and two, the not letting those thoughts, you know, like they really drag me down. Because like a lot of reason, the, the one big reason why people flake out is because they say yes in the moment, and then they have all these thoughts that come up between now and whatever happens, and they just basically like that talk themselves out of it because they believe all the things that are going on in their head. And like, you know, now, you know, I actually do see people flaking out in a much different way. Like I actually feel some compassion for them. I used to do it because like, you know, flaking out is just fear. It's just like thinking about what's going to happen, you know, and believing this one or two possibilities that's like a negative outcome, believing that, getting afraid, and then not doing something new because of that. So saying yes is just amazing. And like, you know, we have really found, like you said, a lot of really, really rad people come into our lives.
Right. And what you're talking about there too, it's that sense of, cuz when we grow up it's like, "Oh, that's not cool." It's not
Yeah.
cool to do yoga. It's not cool to do meditation. I remember growing up, hearing later on, because I've always been into football, and hearing later on that there was a lot of professional athletes. Um, First it started with the big linemen doing ballet, and then the big linemen started doing. They all do yoga now. A lot of these athletes too. LeBron James. I can keep going. All of them meditate. Like a good chunk of them are meditating now.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of them have different spiritual practices, and it helps them get in the zone. So now people, and I feel like that's too why we're starting to see more men come into this space, is they're understanding that at the end of the day it ends up being just an edge on people. When we really look at the greatest athletes in the world, I guarantee a bunch of them have some crazy rituals that involve meditation, a certain practice like yoga, or even some of the hardest men in the planet, David Goggins, for example, he stretches like 2 hours a day. Like he just
Wow.
stretches. That's his practice.
Dang.
Is he stretches? Yeah, it's why you should look him up. He's wild. But you know, that's what that and these are people that just are trying new things, and it's okay to try new things. It doesn't mean you're a geek. It doesn't mean you're uncool. And you're talking to one. I love being a geek. I fucking wear it on my chest. I love being a geek. That's who I am, and I'll try new things all day because it's fun and I enjoy it. You know.
Yeah, you know, and like also like the doing new things in terms of like, you know, if it's like a unique idea that you have, and maybe it's not how like everyone else does it, or maybe it's not how like it's ever been done before. That's also, you know, a big part of doing new things, because if you look at all these like the people who are like a very well known or in the spotlight or just at like some really high place, in like whatever pursuit they've done, there's no way that any of them did it by the book. They
Mm.
all were like, I think that this is a cool way to possibly do it, and then they did it. And that's why they're so like honored, you know, and respected and loved, because they really, really let their uniqueness flourish. And people love uniqueness. And like, you know, so maybe I've said this to you before too, but like, do we have this like false idea, this like false romanticism for some reason about normal? We think that being normal is like so sexy, but if you look at like actually what normal is, it's not at all. I mean, like it's actually a huge, like the huge place to suffer is being normal. And like an example I like to say is like if you go and like talk to somebody about their favorite thing, like a movie, a food, a vacation, their best friend, their favorite piece of clothing, the chances are they're not gonna, you know, explain to you why they love it so much because it's so normal. They'd be like, "Oh my god, this movie, my favorite movie of all time. Why? it's so normal. Like nothing about it is like, is like different or unique. It's just, it's the most normal thing I've ever
Right.
seen in my life, and I fucking love it. It's like that doesn't happen. We love things because they're so different.
Yep. Different and unique and everything and all that in between, right?
Yeah.
And it is, you're right, it is the the athletes that stand out are doing the weird new drills that everyone said, oh, I don't want to do that, that's not gonna
Yeah.
work, you know
Yeah.
so the more people say that's not gonna work or you shouldn't do that, do it. just
Exactly.
just do it. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I think too a big part of that is, we're scared of being judged, we're scared of failing. Those are the two
Yeah.
things that hold us back the most. What are people going to think about me, or what if this doesn't work? you know it's just judgment and failure, and both those things are just so, not important at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. And we've like spent a lot of time around like that kind of really actually seeing what failure means. And failure is actually it's like no different than success. Failure
Yeah.
is part of success. But like really the only true failure, the only like true 100% failure is if you quit. And that happens a lot because we have this idea in our heads that like every little failure, it's like, oh, well, I'm done. I might as well not even try because I didn't succeed every single time. But there's a great quote by Winston Churchill, and I'll paraphrase again. I don't know any of these quotes by heart, it seems, but he says success is the ability to move from one failure to the next with enthusiasm. So he only talks about failure. His definition of success doesn't even include the word success, or like anything in there like it that's positive except for enthusiasm. He's just saying you just move on to every failure. You just keep on moving on from failure to failure to failure. And like also these people that we glorify, we really don't take time to like recognize that they put a lot of work in and they failed a lot, but they didn't give up because they knew where they wanted to go and they believed in what they were doing and they believed in themselves. And they've failed so many times, but they didn't actually ever truly fail because they didn't quit. They kept going. But we just see them at the very top and we're like, oh my God, it must be so amazing to be them. And we don't give them credit for really the path. Hence the journey.
Right.
It's all about the journey, not the destination.
Exactly. And what jumps out to me, I love the story of when Edison made the light bulb,
Yeah.
because it took him 1,000 tries to make it. And my favorite story about him is when they asked him, you know, you failed 999 times to make that. How did you do it? He literally just replies back and says, I didn't fail 999 times. I found out 999 different ways of how to not make a light bulb. And it's that thought process that actually had him have the success of making a light bulb.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
and
I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say real quick, like we're always so like stressed out about like what's the right thing for me to do. And okay, so there's probably like way more things that we're probably not meant to do than there are things that we are meant to do, right? So it just makes sense that as you go and try and explore, that you'll run into a lot of things that you're not meant to do before you run into the thing that you're truly meant to do, because there's less of those things.
Right.
So like as you go out there and you explore and you find out all these things that maybe aren't so good, well, that's so useful because now you're like, I don't need to waste my time with that anymore because I already tried it and now I can move on from that. So it is good, but we just get caught up in that. We get like stuck on it.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll talk about my personal experience too with like success and failure. Is the fact of how I lost weight. I'm very adamant that it wasn't just a diet that made me actually lose weight. It was me doing a bunch of different things to get to that one program that I had the most success with And then later on, I ended up switching it that I'm not even doing that same program anymore, you know? And, people ask me all the time, because they know I was vegan and now I'm not vegan. And, what I tell them about it now is I'm actually really fortunate and grateful that I did do that, because what it did help me learn was, how to eat really clean and what actually is in our food and what goes about of making our food and all these different really critical things that are very important to what we're putting in our body. And, looking back to, realistically, I tried to lose weight all my life. I was always a big kid. I always had the mentality that I was big. That's just how I was. And I made a decision one day that I was done with it. I was done having to go to the doctor to check things if I was diabetic or not. I was always pre-diabetic for literally years. I was sick of that. I was sick of feeling tired and everything that goes with being overweight. And so I made a decision. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And I remember switching up my program and my diet literally a good 4 times within about 3 years before I finally got the results that I wanted. And I also had this realization once it was over with, and I did get to a point where I was kind of too skinny for what I really needed to do. And so guess what? I needed to switch it up again. And that's the thing too, when it comes to success and failure, is you always have to constantly switch things up to really get the results that you want. And that's perfectly okay. That's why a lot of people too, at the end of the day, we see this roller coaster with, their weight and everything, is because, they get tired of doing something. And they don't accept that they're just going to have to do a little bit different program. It's always constantly, you always constantly have to do something and shift to get to where you want to be. So now where I'm constantly changing and having to shift is I want to be a healthy person the rest of my life. So that creates work, that creates dedication, that creates me keeping track of what I'm doing, what I'm eating, the balance that I have, and everything that goes with that. And that's part of my lifestyle now. So now it's like no big deal at all. I've hit that success level that I'm comfortable with it. And I don't need to be one of these, for me personally, I don't need be one of these people that's, uber extreme to the max with what they're doing with everything with their diet and stuff like that, because that's not my forte. That's not really what I'm into at the end of the day, but I'm satisfied with where I'm at. And you can be satisfied with certain levels of success, right?
Yeah. And I love what you said there about balance and changing things. Because if you're trying to keep balance in a changing world, which everything is always changing, including our body, but everything is changing. Well, then if you're going to keep balance, then you have to keep on making shifts. If you just look at a really easy example, if you stand on one leg, notice all the little tiny movements that you're constantly making in order to keep your balance. You're not just standing like a statue, because you're like a living thing. So you need to be very present and very in tune with what's happening. You need to make all these little tiny shifts in order to stay there. And when we get rigid, that's when we fall out of balance. And I see that so often. So often in yoga poses, people try and balance with force, and they try and be really strong and stiff, oh, I'm gonna hold this, and they never do. They always fall out of it, or they may hold it for a few breaths and they're miserable, or they're not even breathing. but yeah, being willing to making shifts, is so important. And with diet, I think this is a topic that a lot of people can that really relate to. But this goes past diet too, is just trying it. You have to just try it, and so for example, I do a lot of my own cooking. Mostly I do my own cooking, and I talk to people all the time, who want to start to cook, and they always say oh yeah, but it's too hard. Oh yeah, but I don't have all these ingredients. Oh, but I don't have this kind of special pot. And it's oh my God, you don't need all that stuff. I would love to make a cooking show where I'm teaching people to cook. I'm Okay, so just grab like, this spice and just put like a little bit in there and then, pour some water in there, and then turn the heat up here. It's like it doesn't need to be so exact. Like you just need to do it and try it. Work with what you got. Like you can make
Yeah.
so much great stuff without needing everything to be perfect, but it's just a matter of if you try.
Right. And that's part of, to bring it all back, I'm going to take a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And those are all my experiences at the end of the day,
Yes.
you know?
Take what works
And
for you. Yeah.
take what works for you. Take what works for you. And you're going to love it. You're going to love yourself way more at the end of the day because you're going to
Yeah.
be trying new things. You're going to be, you know, you're going to have all these you're going to have all these extra things to talk about with different people, you know? Um, but that's what life is about. Life is about all the experiences that you have along the way. and
Yes,
and with
exactly.
cooking too, you're gonna have the story of when you screwed something up and when you burnt it. The amount of things that I burn now when I cook is just it's what I do. But I do love
Yeah.
cooking at the end of the day.
And I do love the taste of burnt stuff. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's crispy and crunchy and it has like a smokiness to it.
Exactly right. Oh man. All right, perfect. Well, this is I think this is a great point to wrap it up here, Nate.
Yeah.
Um, and what is something that that we talked about today that you wanna bring back to, um, and just say one more word on it.
So the being that this, is our first podcast, I would really like to emphasize what we talked about at the very start as like just doing it. Like just do it. Like the, the Ben and I will talk about in the later episodes about the different the different things in our life that we've had that have held us back for so long. And that doing this podcast, that for both of us is like us totally looking at those things in the face and just, very lovingly saying, I'm not going to let you hold me back anymore. So what you want to do, don't let the thought or image of yourself hold you back. You just got to do it. Once you do it, you'll grow so much. But like we've also said, it just starts with a decision. So you can make the decision to do it, and it's not like you have to go out and like start to put your nose to the grindstone. Is that
Yeah.
the saying? It's the decision. That's the thing that you need to do right now. So yeah, just do
Yeah.
it.
I love it, man. I love it. This is gonna be a lot of fun. And you know, to get you to check out the next episode and everything else that we have in store, other things that we're gonna talk about along the way. We're gonna explore meditation a lot. It's a very important practice to me and Nate. We do it daily. We're gonna just talk about those pesky beliefs. What are beliefs? Is belief really a thing? And we can go on to that quite a bit. And just different situations with, how do we deal with situations with our parents, with our friends, all those different blocks that we've had throughout the course of our life because what other people, thought necessarily might not have been the right thing, and it's done damage to us a little bit here and there. And maybe we'll just talk about the concept of time and why it doesn't really exist at the end of the day too. So those are the things that you're going to be able to look forward to. I'm really excited to continue this journey with you, Nate. And let's just remember that this thing called life, it is a journey and we're all living it, and let's have a lot of fun along the way. So with that being said, Nate, if you wouldn't mind, let's close this out in a meditation and we'll go on
Yeah.
our way.
Okay, cool. So again, if you are in the position to close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. But if not, then let's just go back to the breath and just start to breathe in and out through your nose. Right. If your nose is plugged up, you can breathe in and out through your mouth. That's fine too. But just a few breaths, just paying attention to a few breaths. And maybe you can just feel your body start to relax a little bit. And just breathing in a way that you're just trying to soothe the body. Just like if you're trying to like soothe a loved one, with a nice hug. Breathing in that way, just helping to soothe your body. And then just a couple more breaths. Breathing a little bit more sweetly, and possibly being able to feel your heart beating. And just really relax around your heart. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for being with us, breathing, listening, and opening your mind. And I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day or night, and really hope to connect with you in some way, shape, or form in the future. And we'll see you next time. Namaste. Lots of love to you.
Until the next episode, everyone. Peace.